Hi everyone, my name is Ksenia and I'm very happy that you decided to join me for today's short episode of the podcast. If you're new here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. I'm glad that you're here. Today will be really short. I don't have very much to show you, but I have some, and I decided that it's better to check in and just talk a little bit. Today I'm wearing my Felix pullover that I finished a couple of weeks ago. I really cannot get enough of this sweater. It's very cozy, very warm. In fact, I can tell you that it's a little bit too warm because it's quite warm outside, and we still have our central heating on. We cannot turn it on and off when we want it. Our apartment building is quite old, and so the heating is centralized, so we need to wait for the city to turn it off. And yeah, in order to do that, they need to wait so that the average temperature during the day is 8 degrees plus 8 degrees Celsius. And although it is quite warm during the day, the nights are still quite cold. So we still have the heating on. I don't mind personally because I get cold very easily. So, and it's nice to wear like a t-shirt at home and not, worry about getting cold. So today I have one work in progress and one finished object to share with you. And the finished object is my pair of gloves, my first ever pair of gloves. Here they are. I don't have any glove blockers to show you the pair, so I will model them for you. And it's getting so warm. So they have quite a long cuff. Yeah. I used a Russian pattern to make them, and you can see they fit really well. There are no holes like here or here. Like the thumb increases, you can see that. You can see the increased line, but you can see that there are no holes. And it's the same here. Yeah. I used drop snored to make them, and I used 2.5mm needles. The ball band calls for the 3mm needles, but as I'm quite a loose knitter, I decided to size down so that they would be like, the fabric would be more dense, and so I would be able to wear them when the wind blows or like when it's colder. The yarn is very warm. It is a blend of alpaca, wool, and nylon. So nylon is for durability and alpaca is for the warmth, and the wool content is enough for them to keep its shape. The original pattern, I will link it below just in case you want to look at the pictures maybe, or like go through the hashtag on Instagram. Suggests that I made a broken rib pattern on them, but I was too worried that I would not be able to pay enough attention, that I would make a mistake because I had no idea what I was doing. And the pattern is so very well written. Like, I've never knitted a pair of mittens or gloves before, and it worked like a charm. Like, I think it took me less than a week to make a pair, even though I sized down in the needle size. And normally I'm not a quick knitter whatsoever, so this is like fast for me. What else should I say? It took me it took me exactly 40 grams to knit these, and my arm circumference is 17 centimeters. My palm, yeah. So it's 17 centimeters, and I made the cuff quite long. So one ball of yarn is 50 grams, and I still have 10 grams left. And originally I thought that I would take like more yarn, and I bought 2 balls of yarn. So now I'm able to have another pair, and I will have 20 grams left, which I plan to use for my heels, cuffs, and toes for a pair of socks. I have leftover stainless garn sisu, which is like this beautiful burgundy, like deep cherry color, and I think it will look nice with this color, like contrasted. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, and they're very soft and very pleasant to touch. So I'm like sitting and doing all this, and I think they will be very nice to knit when the time comes. Now the weather is quite warm, like I said, and I didn't have a chance to actually wear them. Probably they will have to wait until fall, but the weather here is so unpredictable that maybe I will get to test them out. Okay, this is all for my finished objects. Now work in progress. So this is a very special work in progress for me, as it has a little bit of story behind it. So the 1st of February, I went to Moscow for a wool festival. We only have like 2 major wool festivals in Russia, and one started this year in St. Petersburg, and one has been going on for a couple of years. But now, as far as I have read, they did not cancel it, but they like postponed it. So I don't know when the next wool festival will happen. So this makes my trip even more special. And when I was at the festival, there is a lady who is very popular, and I showed you the yarn kit that I got from her to make a vest. And I had to wait for it from the 1st of February to actually have some kind of a pattern. I'm sorry. And so that we can test it. I am in love with the pattern. I will link it below. It's not a pattern per se, but I will link the photograph of the vest so that you can see how beautiful it is. So it will be down below, and I started knitting it, and the way we do it, like we do it as a group, and she gives us like the description, for example, for the ribbon, and when we are done with the ribbon, she releases the next like part of the pattern, and she makes sure that everyone can keep up, that we don't have any questions, that it all works out. Sorry for that, I just got a call. So I'm done with the ribbon. So okay, this is what the yarn looks like. So now all this beauty will become a vest. I'm, like I said, done with the ribbon. This is what it looks like. you can see the colors, right? So the main color is black, and you purl using different colors. Like you can see that it has like deep blue, and then purple, and then pink, and then orange, and then beige. So now a little bit about the yarn. And it looks like it is quite big. I'm not sure like how big it really is. So the yarn is from England, and the fabric, the factory is called the mill Soft Donegal Knoll Yarns, and they're in Russia. They're most famous for their soft Donegal tweed, and this is Galanta. It's, I believe, 600 meters per 100 grams, and I am using 275 millimeter needles, which is US size 2, and the yarn is very heavily coated in like spinning oil, and that's why you can see like it's not like, it looks like I'm knitting some kind of a net or something, but when you wash it like 2 to 3 times, the spinning oil comes off and the yarn blooms. And I have the controversial thing about the yarn, like I love it. Like I personally am a fan of the knoll yarns and the tweed they make and everything. But what is hard when working with the yarn, first of all, you have no idea if, like, when you're looking at it like this, it does not look very appealing. And I will probably wash it and see what it looks like washed, because it's very hard to guess the size that you will get. And also, after you wash it, the yarn behaves very differently for different people. Many people say that it shrinks lengthwise and that it widens. I have made a sweater out of the tweed yarn, and I expected it to shrink and widen, and it didn't. So this sweater fits very well, but it's completely different from how I imagined it would be. Then I needed a few other things like a beret, and the beret really got bigger. And I had to reknit it 4 times, and I still could not get the size that I wanted. So now, like, it's waiting to be reknit again because I don't like the way it fits me. So this, like, because the yarn is so fine, and it took me like 4 days to actually do this, so I really hope that I will not have to like salvage it and rip it out and start all over again, because it takes a lot of time to do this. But we'll see. So probably when I podcast next, I will show you my progress, and I will show you how it looks. Yeah, so this is all for the knitting content. I wanted to share a book recommendation with you. So I finished, oh, let me show you, because I'm very proud of how the floats look like. Look at that. It is Okay, I'll probably show them to you once it's washed, but they're so nice and neat. I really do like them. So the book. I finished listening to How to Fail at Almost Anything and Still Win Big by Scott Adams. I finished it in about a week. And I cannot recommend this book enough. It is very inspiring. It has a lot of practical advice. It is very down to earth. So he does not tell you to like go and do something that you absolutely cannot do. And when you finish listening to the book, you feel so motivated to go and do something that it's incredible. I really want to buy a paper copy and reread it, and I will definitely re-listen to it. It's one of the best books, and I believe that it's the best book of 2020 so far. Really highly recommend. The author is very he's a cartoonist, so he's the author of Dilbert, the comic. I'm sure lots of you have heard about it. And so the narrative is very funny, has lots of jokes, and at the same time it has lots of some serious topics, and the advice that he gives you really work. Like, I've tried, and I really, really enjoy the results. So the next book that I'm listening to is, I believe it's called In Sheep's Clothing, or A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. It is quite short. It's about 5 hours of audiobook, and it tells you how to deal with covertly aggressive people and how to actually recognize one, and what you can do to stop the covert aggression and how you need to react to this. It is very well, how do I say this? Like, I have some people at my job that I find quite difficult to deal with, and it's not like their fault. I think it's just, in general, like miscommunication between me and them. And I believe that some of the tactics that are talked about in the book will be helpful and useful. So if you have, if you're interested in psychology, or if you have some people that you feel uncomfortable around, or that you just want to understand better, maybe some of your friends or family have dealt with somebody who might be covertly aggressive, and sometimes we call such people passive aggressive. Maybe you can give this book a listen. I cannot say that it's the most fascinating and well-written book, but I find it useful, and I'm already halfway through, and I hope to be finished in the next 2 to 3 days. So a quick listen. I believe that it's useful enough to give it a try. At least give it a try, and maybe you will like it. And yeah, I don't have any footage from outside to show you today, because right now it's a 5-day holiday in Russia, the Labor Day, and for that, the restrictions about going out are even stricter than before, because normally the weather is nice, and it is, and people like to go out like we always did on the 1st of May, and the 9th of May. And so that, to stop people from going out and interacting and mingling, the restrictions have been, they are more like strict, like I said. And so I didn't have a chance to go out and take, some footage. But I hope that soon it will change and you'll see more of our nature. I will probably take a couple of videos around the city, and because it's really beautiful outside. Like we just started to have some green leaves, and the dandelions are in bloom, and it's so nice. It's like the feeling of spring and the smell of spring, and we have rains, and then after the rain, the earth smells so nice. And that's when you actually realize that, oh, it's spring. So yeah, probably, hopefully, in a few weeks, I'll be able to share it with you. For now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you like the video, and I will link everything down below, and I hope to see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.